Hey everybody, Ben here. Thanks for clicking on the video. Thanks for showing up for yourself each and every day. If this resonates, feel free to like or comment. If not, don't make it fit. I'll connect here, see what comes through, and then pull some cards. Came to mind was trickster energy. First ring, I heard Baba Yaga, but wasn't sure if she was back again. Okay. So, test of your strength. To go beyond the veil and not be afraid. Not in a perished way, but stretching your legs, see your strength, go beyond the veil again to see beyond the veil. What's there wants you. And then I just kind of drifted off into the abyss. Think about someone said before, I like the saying, she was experiencing uh, entities and interacting with them. And uh, she showed a little bit of fear at one time, because of the way that they looked. And he said, "What are you, some sort of speciesist?" I always think that's so funny because it is true. We were raised to demonize anything beyond, let alone the way it looks. I'm sure we've all seen some pictures of extraterrestrials to an extent that they look different. Extraterrestrial in a general sense, is going to be different and demonized. And yes, there are things that are bad, and then there are things that are good. Same thing with uh, entities or deities, gods, goddesses. All can show, can impose an image of fear, and maybe we have that fear because we think we are powerless to them. And if we only knew how much power we truly do have, we wouldn't be afraid. And going beyond in this spiritual connection or astral traveling to spaces or voids and experiencing and interacting with others, uh, we have to let go of that fear and this idea that we are powerless and at the what's the word, the mercy of them. And normally during these spaces and expansion, we are walking into this power, this strength that we have that may have been demonized, going to these spaces and expanding our growth and our view perspective while using it for harm to none. So, Nine of Wands reversed. Vulnerability. It is kind of coming to mind is uh, be careful what you do. Maybe there's that fear. There is, I'm not here to say right or wrong what anyone does, but there are some things that I would be hesitant to do, by changing trajectories and things like that. When you are in this place and you have these abilities to think it through, to be careful. God forbid what could possibly take place when you are in these spaces. It could also just be, as we were talking of the speciesist idea of seeing something and being vulnerable to it, being in a feeling small, less than what is portrayed there. And it's giving off the idea of, this is obviously a magical experience, but the fact that they can travel in all these spaces and present themselves in certain ways shows that they have more power because of the magical aspect of it, but yet we are less than in our minds because we are here in the 3D. But yet, where do we go when we dream on a very basic level? Where do we go when if you're into astral traveling or doing something like that, you have these abilities. It is just this, excuse me, this density that is keeping us drawn down, and our mind is very closed off to the further expansion of beyond. It is difficult at a time to, if we're living in two different realities or experiencing a lot of this magical experience, if we will, and then yet getting hit by the wind here in the 3D and being anchored back down into this reality. King of Cups reversed. Manipulation. I just feel drawn to speak on not everybody out there is rooting for you, in these spiritual aspects. We can look at it as simply uh, putting ideas in our head, and it's just because they want to see what happens. You know, it's like they didn't get to experience it, so they're like, yeah, go ahead and do that. It's like a fucking show to them, to some. Could also enjoy seeing people do destructive things, you know, or destroy their life, or maybe their ancestors that are jealous because they didn't get to do something and they want to screw your experience up so you don't get to either. These things are real and not everybody's in your court. Maybe you also have a certain type of vibration and certain uh, unhealed spirits that passed over that were really attached to the material come into your space. And that can be fearful because we think they're there to hurt or disrupt when really they're drawn to the light because they think you're the light at the end of the tunnel. They didn't fully cross over or reincarnate, or however we want to look at it. There is a lot of experiences, and what we think might be bad might be good, and what might present itself as good is just shape shifting and is actually bad. This is really where we have to come internally, using our intuition and discerning uh, what is right and what is wrong to us, and not so much relying on the idea that they are above us and they have all this intelligence, which, yes, but is it valid? Is it beneficial? Take your time with this. Don't, like I said, be hesitant at times of what's taking place. How much is this going to change our trajectory? We see plenty of times people get into psychosis and they're the reincarnation of who the fuck knows who, somebody with a big name, and they got these great ideas, and that's how cults start and crazy shit takes place, and damage to other individuals takes place. This, when we get into attachments and energy, and it's a little spooky, can be, but come back down to here and center, this constant balance of what's going on. Ace of Wands, new beginnings. Obviously, entering this space and the word flirting in it comes through is a huge new beginning. And how we navigate it is up to us. your speed, your safe space, and uh, using your discernment. That's all we got. That's all we got is in here, our intuition. And, but we kind of got to be open. Like, I remember the first time that I meditated, and I blame myself because I feel like I blocked myself for a while after this. Uh, was I didn't know much about spirituality, and I just put a frequency on, and I was listening to it, and I was sitting in a chair, and I was drifting off, and I freaked out because I was way above my chair, like floating in the air, and my heart and like my anxiety took over at that point because I had really bad anxiety. My heart was coming through my chest, I was freaking out. So I think after that, I made this block, and I couldn't get beyond before. It took me a long time to get through, to cross over farther because of that anxiety, that experience. I was afraid. How can we go all the way and not freak out? It has to be a slow process, and a lot of times it takes a while. And that's why a lot of people also say, like, there's normally not someone to guide you through it. Like, you have to experience it yourself, because we have to know what feels right to us and what feels wrong to us. There was times where going really far, and like I'm being departicleized, and my body's turning into like little bits, like tearing and ripping, and it's a painful experience. And then coming back, it's like heavier than fuck, because you're being jammed back into this body. It is scary, but are we going to be okay? Are we going to be safe? These experiences that, and then we get into the whole entity thing and energies and stuff. Take your time. It is no rush. Three of Swords, sideways. Heartbreak and healed wounds. Oops. Just, kind of talking about anxiety, and how uh, I, at a time, I blamed that, and I said I held myself back and stuff, but I've since healed that. When we go through these experiences, there are scary experiences. They are paranormal, and we can create little walls. And often we always say, it's us blocking ourselves, and no matter what experience that we're having, it's always us. We have emotions involved and stuff, and fear is a huge one. Healing these, and anxiety in general, our safety, it's they're all valid. They're all valid, but use our discernment. One closing card here, Spirit. Nine of Pentacles reversed. Dependence. Just depend on ourselves for comfort and reassurance in these situations. Obviously, you have a gift. There is much more to experience and learn. There is no rush, but depend on yourself for knowing what's safe and not. Like I said, some things can come in. It's a highway out there, or a radio frequency. You can tune to whatever channel you want, and sometimes what's presented isn't always what it is. We got to depend in here of what is, comfortable and safe. And if we don't know, then take time and think about it, and it'll come to us. It's different. There is no right or wrong. Everybody has different experiences. There is no one way. It is all. I'll leave it there. If this resonated, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will talk to y'all later.